Hey, let me show you something. Come on. Come on. Here, have a look at this. Right here. All right, welcome back. Episode 123 of Chaotically Intolerant. Michael's back-to-back weeks. It's been a day of football. I'll say that. I think the brain is fried. It's week 14. It's, we're starting to feel the effects, I think. A little bit of the not nausea, not the word I'm looking for. See, my brain is fried. Fatigue, I would say. Just the physical fatigue. I'm never truly tired of football.
Yeah, right. Well, you have to train yourself now for an extra week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even like you think, oh, well, 17, 18 weeks, what's the difference? You start getting into like early January and the regular season's not over. It's weird, man. January 9th, 10th, Super Bowl's getting pushed back and they go to 18 games. I mean, you're talking President's Weekend. I mean, it is a little much, but we watch it because we like football, so.
Well, this super wild card weekend too. I mean, it's, it used to just be the wild card weekend. Now it's super. I mean, I don't know if I can handle the extra
Monday night game. And then they have to have it, automatically that team plays on a short week. I mean,
the Monday night game is reserved for the NFC South because it's a cakewalk for whoever plays the NFC South.
Well, I mean, it has to be a game where the seeding, like, because they don't want to, they can't risk that same team playing on Saturday. So it always is going to be like a 5-4 game, I think, because then that won't determine where the next game is going to be. So, yeah, I mean, I remember they've had a couple of duds, if I remember. The Cardinals and the Rams had the horrible game a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that was the first week. That was the first year that was a bad game, and then obviously last year was Dallas and
finale.
Tampa.
Yeah, the sad Brady should have retired a year or two earlier game. Yeah. But
before, I guess before we jump into the NFL, let's talk a little college because I'm not a big college guy, but I did watch, all of the championship games. I don't think we talked about this last week. I wanted to let it settle for a week. FSU doesn't get in. Now, I'm a big proponent. One, I'm not a big fan of the SEC bias, but the SEC is just better. Like they send more players to the NFL. I don't care about record this year versus the SEC. You always have to give them kind of the benefit of the doubt, in my opinion. I don't think Georgia should have gotten in. But people saying FSU should have gotten in because they won the ACC. They had the 50th worst strength of schedule or something like that. They were 50th and Alabama was like 5th. Or maybe they were 5th and FSU was 55th. Like, if there's a tiebreaker of one-loss SEC champion versus undefeated ACC champion, strength of schedule has to be it. It just has to. I think that's a perfectly fair strength of schedule, or that's a perfectly fair tiebreaker, in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe Alabama just gets in because Alabama, I don't know.
Well, plus you saw Michigan's reaction to them having to play Alabama. Did you see the video?
No, I didn't see that.
They were not happy. Like, they were disappointed. They looked scared. That was what I saw from that Michigan team when they saw Alabama come up as 4. So clearly they were hoping to play FSU. To me, that's not a shock. I mean, FSU with a third-string quarterback, and people were saying, well, you shouldn't eliminate them. They beat Louisville with the third stringer and Florida. Well, Florida was awful. They're not even bowl eligible. Even going into that game, it's an in-state rivalry. And then you play a Louisville team who you barely beat. You couldn't move the ball. I think it was 3-0 at the end of the third quarter. Like, I don't like the committee normally. I think they get it wrong a lot of the time, but they got this one right. And it sucks they got to leave out a 12-0 a 12-0 Florida State team. It does, but I think it was the right call.
Yeah, that's just going back so many years. It's just to the BCS, whatever that was. I mean,
yeah,
it's I don't know how to fix it. I mean, expanding it helps, but someone's always going to feel snubbed.
I think the best way to do it is to do a soccer style, how Europe does their soccer leagues. They have tons of different soccer teams all throughout Europe. You just do it with promotions and relegations, where you have, say, the top 25 teams in college football. They play in the Premier League of college football, and then you just drop different leagues. And if you win your league, you move up to the next league. And it's not like JMU, who got screwed over this year because, they ended up getting into a bowl, but they were not going to go to a bowl, even though their record was like they were a 1 or 2 loss team. I think that's the best way to do it with 200 something teams. You can't have just 200 teams and divisions and all this shit. That's just too much. It's too hard to get in or to do that. But if you have different leagues and promotions, relegations, that can encourage teams to build up their teams even more, knowing, hey, we still have a shot in a few years to go and get it. I think that's the best model you can follow right now.
I like it. I thought you were when you said no football, I thought we were talking $700 million evil empire contract for Shohei Ohtani. I had predicted that last year that he was going to be a Dodger. I mean, they were just, but hey, super teams, hopefully they're meant to fail. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, when I saw the Ohtani news, I looked at my phone. I was in public and I said out loud, "Oh my God." I was like, "Oh my God." And you know what they're going to do? They're spending $700 million just to lose in the NLCS again. Like, that's what they're going to do. That's what the Dodgers do.
I hope so. I really hope so. I'll get a kick out of it, but I don't know if they're done. I think this, all the deferrals they're going to go for Yamamoto or make a trade for a guy like Corbin Burns. So, we could be gearing up for another 5-10 years of them at least dominating the regular season, and then who knows in the playoffs.
I think they'll still do that. I mean, that's not a problem. I saw this video of a kid who was a D-backs fan, and he was reacting to the trade with his dad, and he literally said, Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman can go to hell.
Well, they combined for 1 hit in the postseason last year, and they just picked up a guy, paid $700 million for a guy who has 0 career postseason hits. So we'll see, see if it works out. But it's going to be a tough lineup. That's for sure.
I understand the investment. People are saying it's a crazy investment. I don't like the 10-year deals. They never work anyway. So I guess
is his arm going to be okay? I mean, and then plus, I mean, I think they do it for the marketing. They know that more the money will pay itself back in the marketing. It's not so much a need. I mean, they're almost just paying this guy to promote him, to bring fans, you know what I mean? More than they are to say, like, we need you as a player. We need, because another thing to keep in mind is last year, so Ohtani hit 44 homers in like 130 something games. So you average that out to 162 would be about 53 home runs. And obviously, he's good average, gets on base, and he can occasionally steal. JD Martinez was their everyday DH. He hit 33 homers, I think, in about 110 games or something. His average to 162 was like 6 homers less than Ohtani. So yeah, you can't compare him because obviously Ohtani's one of a kind, but the difference in like power production, for example, is not that much. And I can't imagine they're going to bring JD back to have an extra DH. Although you never know with the Dodgers.
The Dodgers are the Dodgers funded by Saudi Arabia? Because they're turning into the LIV Tour at this point. The LA Dodgers are the LIV Tour of Major League Baseball.
It is ridiculous. People like to say, we didn't buy guys or we've let guys go. And then, Corey Seager and Bellinger, but they've also, look who you're talking about, obviously Betts, Freeman, and Ohtani. Of course, Betts was a trade, but then it was a $325 million extension with that trade. And then it's, Trevor Bauer, Max Scherzer, Trey Turner, Craig Kimbrell, JD Martinez. I mean, it's not, yes, they develop, they draft, and believe me, I lived out there. It was a terrible sports atmosphere. People rip on Florida. They don't, like people transplants and stuff. It's different in these other cities, these Philadelphias, these Bostons, these Detroits. And I'm not saying people don't like their sports there. But my God, if people didn't know the Dodgers were turning into the Yankees before, hopefully this opens their eyes.
Yeah. Has anybody ever been to a Jaguars game when they're really good when they say that? Because a Jaguars game when the Jags are good is actually quite fun. They're
I'm sure it is. I'm sure
Florida
Jacksonville
rednecks. It's Florida rednecks going crazy. I mean,
sure.
what more can you want?
Yeah, I mean, Jacksonville's the biggest city by land, right, in the United States. So that we know they have it is, I believe, in terms of like what they consider the municipal area. And I mean, it's never fair to say like, oh, the Jaguars don't have fans. I mean, they've been terrible. They're a small market. They're a, kind of a random city. It might be big, but it's still random. It's not like they have other teams that they follow, professional teams. I mean, the Los Angeles, they got the Lakers, they got the Kings, and that's not just to even speak of Anaheim, which right down the road, little brother. But anyway, enough baseball for now. That Ohtani thing just took a lot out of me following that too. So
yeah, it's sad that he went. That was probably the worst possible place for him to go. And the most boring.
Yeah, and then I feel for my friends in Toronto, Jays fans, who were totally led on. They thought it was Ohtani on that plane. It was Robert Herjavec or whatever from Shark Tank, and you just knew. I mean, it's like, was he really going to go to Toronto? I thought maybe San Francisco would have had a shot. Maybe he could have gone back to the Angels. He did the LeBron thing. He did unfortunately the cowardly the Kevin Durant thing. He had a chance to kind of buck the trend again, because that's what he did when he chose Anaheim in the first place. And he didn't. He took an absurd amount of money. It was about $100 more. And I'll bet you anything that day he spent in I had a friend told me this Jays fan. He said, I'll bet you that day he spent in Dunedin touring the facility jacked up the Dodgers price another $100 million. But they got their DH for $70 million next year. We'll see.
Yeah. It's very, I was hoping Seattle. I thought that would be a great Seattle resurgence. They wouldn't have spent the money on him. Right. I know that. But I was hoping maybe they would be like, we'll make the money back with the Japanese and really just the Asian market in general.
Sure.
I mean, people say just the Japanese market. No, it's the entire continent of Asia and really the world. I mean, the world they're all over this guy. So yeah, I saw somebody equate it to, somebody said like it was like Young Hoku signing a contract for that, which like I get it for the Asian American market, but don't put Young Hoku in the same sentences as Ohtani. I'm sorry. Like, Ku's a great kicker.
People like you're upset because your team didn't get Ohtani. I said my team was 29 other teams that could have signed him, and he went to the one team that nobody wanted. And and then my understanding is he doesn't come off as a prima donna because he's very quiet. But I was reading an article in the Athletic. It was interesting. His agent Nez Bolelo, I don't know how you pronounce the guy's name, and he's devoted completely to Ohtani. I mean, he's pretty high maintenance with, please keep my privacy. Dodgers leak it. Yeah. He ends up there anyway. I want to be on the West Coast, or I want to be in Southern California because I already have a home here, and I must win, and I'll do that. I don't know. I would almost rather he'd be like a loudmouth guy that's like, oh, heck yeah, I took that $700 million and I'm going to LA, and people got on LeBron, but at least he kind of just was like, yeah, I own it. Yep, I'm going to Miami. I'm doing it. I mean,
a lot of people give him shit for the decision. Right. I'm gonna be honest. They don't know that the decision, all that money went to like the Boys and Girls Club. So like they were thinking he was making money off of the decision. All of that went to a charity case.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even realize
he did that. He did that for charity. And I want to say it was in Akron too. I could be wrong. Somebody could listen to this and say you're wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was he was doing it for charity. He didn't take any money from that.
Well, I can certainly respect it if he did that. I mean, I didn't think of it. It was on my birthday, actually, when he did it. It was July 8th. And I just remember that, obviously Cleveland was very hurt, but he went back to Cleveland and he won a championship. I don't think Ohtani's going back to Anaheim and winning a championship.
Well, nobody's going to Anaheim and winning a championship.
No, they wasted Trout and Ohtani's, primes basically. So that's a moribund franchise. But anyway, I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to
Yeah. There's not much else to cover on the Ohtani front, I think, for right now.
Yeah.
Let me get our wheel out. We'll get the wheel. We're still working out the kinks on the wheel. So I spoke with Leighton about the wheel, and he said it's actually supposed to be called the Wheel of Intolerance, and we're supposed to say something that we're frustrated about, to vent about, to get started. So I'm working on it. But I have all the divisions mapped out here. So we'll just talk about the games that happened in that division, even if they played outside the division. It doesn't matter.
Sure.
But and then it'll eliminate. We'll go through and eliminate eventually. So please don't be the AFC South. I'm disgusted. Damn it, it's Immaculate Grid. I'm a little disappointed on that. We got to follow the rules. The wheel is just, but we're not going to play the Immaculate Grid again. So we'll do a quick. Have you played the Immaculate Grid?
Oh, I play it all the time. Love the Immaculate Grid.
Perfect. We'll do a football one. Keep the mood going.
I'm halfway through mine today. I can tell you, I had it open on my phone, so I can get us halfway. Well, 5 out of 9, more than halfway.
Hold on, all right. So what do you have right now?
I've got Chiefs Falcons is super easy, I think.
Oh, that's Tony Gonzalez, right?
Yeah, of course. Of course, got to go Tony.
All right, and then
I was able to get all the Falcons ones. That's so I actually
Falcons.
Yeah. But, I have the advantage of remembering, more of the guys that I know are actually the older guys. I actually am less useful with current players than I am. So I can just give you a couple of old school names here.
Throw them at me.
I'll give you a first round pick from about 20 years ago. D'Angelo Hall played for both teams. He was first round pick out of Virginia Tech in 2004. Had a really good career, actually. And then Morton Anderson. I mean, really thought the guy was going to kick. Chris Berman used to say he's going to kick till he's 80. Didn't quite get there, but he was, I think, at one point the NFL's all-time leading scorer. Lions Saints. There's an easy current one that just swapped teams. I think you could probably guess that one. He just switched this offseason.
Oh my God. He's a running back.
Yep.
Jamal. Is it Jamal?
Yeah. Jamal Williams. Yeah.
Jamal Williams. And
he's going to come in at 31%. So we're not Tony Gonzalez was 74. And I'll give you one who the last one that I got was 56.
I picked the wrong Jamal Williams.
Oh, you got to put that second A in there. Oh. Yeah, I hate when that happens. It's Jamal Williams.
What? Damn it, we're down one now. Oh, I love that picture though. That's a great picture.
That's a great picture. And then I'll just give you one more name for Saints Texans. I think where's he playing right now? I think he's playing with Dallas right now. Brandon Cooks, right?
Yeah, Brandon Cooks.
And Brandon with an I, not Brandon. Yes. Brandon.
They got to give one. I think they should give one mulligan on something like that.
They should
be able to recognize if you pick the same name.
Well, I always in baseball I'll stumble on Chris Young sometimes. There's 2 Chris Youngs that were right in the same era, but now I've memorized which years the pitcher was and which years the outfielder was. So, I was struggling with Texans. They're so new. I mean, I say they're new. They're 22nd year, but
still new. I would say they're still pretty new.
I mean, they are the expansion team, right? 2002. So, Chiefs.
They're the most recent?
Oh, yeah. Most recent expansion team, sure.
Yeah. Let's see. There are days I'm cooking and days I'm not, and I don't think this is going to be day.
I think what we should do is we should rest our brains, go through the games, and then come back to this at the very end.
That's a much better
time. I think we should do that, yeah.
All right, so do the wheel again. I'm actually going to erase the Immaculate Grid. We're going to take it off. We landed on it. That's just to avoid repeats. Okay. Whoops. Okay, NFC North, sitting on the NFC North. Yep. So let me pull up some of the North games. All the games the North played today. Lions, Bears. The Bears are 5-8 right now. They've just beaten a division leader at this point. Who's to say? Who's to say they can't do it, right? Can't win out?
The Lions, they're not winning out.
No, the Bears. The Bears.
Oh, the Bears. I mean, the Bears are playing better, and they've got what? Browns, Cardinals. They're not winning out, but man, I mean, because they have Carolina's first round pick, I mean, the best case scenario would be they keep losing and they could get like the 1 and the 2. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah.
And Dallas just hit a 60-yard field goal, by the way.
Jesus. Did that go in like that? That looked like it could have been 70, right?
Cleared it by
or am I crazy?
Yards, yeah, right off the star, he kicked it. Well, it's better than God, I'm drawing a blank on the guy that missed the 4 extra points or whatever last year in the playoff game.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it'll come to me. Maher, Brett Maher, maybe.
Maher. Yeah, Brett Maher.
And but yeah, going back to the Bears, yeah, it would behoove the Bears to just lose instead of being, like 7-10, get themselves a couple picks. I mean, I'm not shocked the Bears are playing better. Obviously, there's some talent on that roster. I mean, when Fields is good, he's good. Like, he's got tons of physical gifts. I mean, as bad as the Bears season started off, they're playing better football. They beat the Vikings on Monday night. Now they beat the Lions. Like, they're in this kind of mess of a playoff picture where, like you said, if they win out, maybe kind of sort of can, because I forget what year it was like 2 or 3 years ago, they were in the playoffs as a 7 seed and they got flattened by the Saints, of course. I think it was 2020.
That was whatever year Mitch Trubisky won the MVP. The MVP, not the MVP. A lot of people get that mixed up. He lost it in a losing effort, or he won it in a losing effort too.
Oh, the Nickelodeon thing?
Yeah, it was it was the first year they did the Nickelodeon thing. So I think it was 2020.
Yeah, it was
actually the guys over at the Pardon My Take podcast rallied their troops to get him in as the MVP to win it.
Yeah, that was the year the Bucs won it, 2020 season. Point being, I don't know what is going to happen to the Bears, but I know the Lions have some issues right now, and they ran the ball well today, but Goff's numbers were dicey. I think what's happening to Detroit, 2 things are happening. One, the defense is leaking oil. Their coverage is bad. Their tackling's bad. To me, the Lions came out of the gates roaring, no pun intended. They had all this momentum from last year. They had all this hype, and to their credit, they lived up to it. They started the season on a high note, beating the Chiefs on Thursday night. They started 8-2, and you just kind of feel like they used up a lot of energy early in the season, emotionally and physically, and they're coming back to earth a little bit. I think, and I was just talking to a friend who's a Lions fan, and I said, I think they can just weather the storm, get to 10 or 11 wins, win the division. They can regroup, and they will never have felt energy like they will feel hosting a playoff game at Ford Field. And if they do that and they win that, they may lose some energy again after that, but that is going to be one of the biggest stepping stones a franchise has had, just winning a playoff game, being in a home playoff game, and possibly winning it. And I'm not saying that should be like the Lions' goal this year. I know they're thinking bigger, but realistically, like, you're not supposed to go from being whatever they're 3-13 and 3-13-1 to 9-8 to, oh my God, we're going to win the Super Bowl. I think realistically, there's a little bit of a progression right now. I think you're just seeing them just come back to earth a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, there was clear a lot of emotion, especially in that Chiefs game, that opening night. You know, they come out, they do that fake punt, they win the game. There was a ton of, I mean, there were already high expectations coming into this season. So they just seem to be out of gas at this point.
Yeah,
and
they are.
They really got to hope there's some sort of refueling station coming up soon.
Yeah, and their last 4 games, they have 2 against Minnesota. They've got Denver and Dallas. You figure Dallas on the road, that's going to be tough. You figure they'll probably, odds are they'd split with Minnesota. I think they can still win the division at 10 games. I think you'd feel a lot safer if they won 11. So I think that Denver game next week, and Denver's playing well, that's the big one. If I'm not mistaken, it's a Saturday night game or Sunday night game. But they're playing.
I think it was the Saturday night one.
They're playing They're playing the Broncos next week, and that suddenly becomes a big game because you don't want to let the Packers back in, and they're hot. You don't want to let the Vikings back in. I mean, I don't think the Bears are going to win the division, but it's not wrapped up yet for Detroit, so they need to figure out a way to regroup.
Yeah. On to a sucky, horrible, disgusting game. The Minnesota Twins hit a 3-run go-ahead home run in the top of the ninth
Joe
to
Mauer.
beat the Las Vegas A's.
Yeah.
Not the Oakland A's, the Las Vegas A's. But for real, this was
it was a great
disgusting.
pitcher's duel. Yeah, Johan Santana, Tim Hudson going at it for 8 innings, and then to be able to just get that one big hit. Now, you're right. What a god awful football game. The Raiders had a little momentum with Antonio Pierce. They were playing well. They were fired up. They kind of had gotten rid of some of that bad Josh McDaniels mojo, and then they went up 14-0 on the Chiefs, and then they got flattened 30. I forget the final score. I want to say it was 31-3. They got outscored. They were 35-3, 31-3.
I want to say it was 31-3.
Yeah, 31. So, and then they have a bye, and you think, okay, maybe they're still kind of in it. And then oh my God, their defense holds the Vikings to 3 points, and they lose. And Jim Nantz made a comment. I was watching the end of the Bills Chiefs game. He goes, it's almost unfathomable to have a 3-0 game in climate-controlled conditions. I mean, it wasn't like a bad weather or cold or it wasn't even, the Jets and the Panthers. I mean, the Vikings and the Raiders are at least okay or average, mediocre teams. So, yeah, disgusting football. 24 combined first downs between the teams. Minnesota didn't turn the ball over. Vegas turned it over 3 times. So Minnesota had to play a turnover-free game and force 3 turnovers just to put up a whopping 3 points on the board. And then the big bad takeaway for the Vikings is Justin Jefferson left this game with a chest injury after he'd been out for a while with the knee injury. So, I mean, the Vikings, you talk about a team I don't know how they're doing it because they started, what was it, 0-4, 1-4, 1-5, and now they're 7-6, and now they're down, to a third string quarterback. They're down again, maybe without their top receiver. And they're 7-6, and they play Detroit twice. I mean, if the Vikings win the NFC North, I don't even think there should be a debate that Kevin O'Connell's the coach of the year. I'm dead serious. I mean, I don't know.
I agree.
Because after all that last year, and oh my God, they're due for a big regression, and it looked like that's exactly what happened early in the year. But now they're 7-6 with this outfit. Got to give them some credit.
Yeah, something. Yeah, you got to give them something. These teams are. I mean, the Vikings, they're staying in it. That's all they got to do right now, I think. In the NFC and the AFC,
yeah,
you can really talk about both. They're just kind of staying in it. They're just chugging along. That's all they got to do right now. I don't know what their upcoming schedule looks like. I can't imagine it's that difficult.
The Vikings.
Yeah, let me pull it up here.
Well,
they got
2 of their 4 games are against Detroit. So,
they have
the Vikings actually, and they play the Packers, and Cincinnati's their next game. The Vikings, if they win out, they win the division. Now, pretty sure that's not going to happen, but technically going into, the last 4 games of the season, which used to be the last quarter of the season, it's all within reach for the Vikings. Crazy, because last year they won, 11 games that by 1 score or whatever. There's no way that can happen again. And here we are. And the Vikings, I think being 7-6 with this team is more incredible than being 13-4 with the team they had last year, honestly.
Yeah. All right, we'll move to the Monday game. Another gross one. The NFC North isn't offering a lot this week. Packers-Giants. The Giants can't win this game. I just can't imagine them having any ability to win this game right now. Tommy DeVito isn't really anything to me. There's just nothing fun about the Giants right now.
Well, the Giants may not win the game, but could the Packers lose the game is the question. And Green Bay at 6-6, they've gotten hot. The Packers have. They've been coming off a huge emotional win against the Chiefs last Sunday night. Love's playing really well. The Packers look like the kind of team that could make some noise. Because this is what they do. They had a lot of years with Rodgers where they came on strong in the second half. This is one of those games, obviously, the pressure feels like it's squarely on the Packers. So you do take that into consideration. And the Giants, talk about law of averages. They've won 2 in a row, right? They beat New England and they beat Washington, and that's kind of all Brian Daboll's done is beat Washington, I think. But yeah, I don't think the Packers would lose this game because, again, I like the way Love's playing. They're coming off a win, against the Chiefs, and they certainly shouldn't let down against the Giants. I think barring a self-destructive effort from the Packers, they will be okay. I think, like you said, I don't think the Giants are going to win this game. My only concern would be if somehow the Packers found a way to lose it and give it away.
Yeah, I didn't know that Giants fans were so delusional because I made one comment on some post about how the Giants are going to keep trying for Daniel Jones, blah, blah, blah. They were like, we're going to keep trying. And I just threw a comment in there. I was like, you guys aren't trying hard enough. You guys just, they're bad. Like, they were like, watch out when we're 9-8. Watch out, like 4-8 and in the playoff race. That's not hard enough. I'm like, is that really acceptable? If that was the Colts, I would be like, wow, we suck. We have no shot, like no matter what. And the teams we've beaten, they had that 21-point comeback against Arizona, 2 wins against Washington, and they beat the Patriots. Like, is that something? I didn't know that was something to brag about.
It only takes one win, and then the Giants fans are really talking. 5-8, we beat the Packers, but I don't think it'll happen. I like Tommy DeVito. The guy lives at home with his parents. How can you not root for an NFL quarterback who still eats home cooked meals every night? But I've been impressed lately with Jordan Love, especially. He showed a lot of poise. I thought the Packers showed a lot of poise as a team in that Chiefs game. It's hard to imagine them just letting down against a team like the Giants, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right, let's do another spin. Yeah. Oh, man, AFC South.
Well, we had to get it out of the way.
Shit. This was horrible. This was disgusting. It was ugly. It was everything under the sun. Jake Browning had a lot of good pocket presence. I think we didn't really give him as much as he deserved. He looked really good against the Jags, and I think the Colts kind of used this as a look ahead game more than anything. I really think they kind of look past Cincinnati. Gus Bradley has to be fired at this point. This is disgusting. The Colts were unable to stop the screen pass. I think there was probably 3 plays in this game over 30 yards, and they were by screen passes. The refusal to blitz is really the thing that gets me with Gus Bradley, just refusing to send 5, especially on a young quarterback, a backup quarterback who will struggle under pressure. You have to force mistakes, and your secondary is just so bad. I mean, I said this last week. I'm repeating the exact same stories, except these problems are masked when you win with fans that don't actually watch the game, or like surface level fans who don't actually understand literally anything beyond the surface of winning and losing. And Chris Ballard, I think Chris Ballard should be fired too for his just refusal to address the cornerback situation. I mean, the Colts corners are horrendous. They are awful. They are. Both in the offseason when you lose your number 1 cornerback in Isaiah Rodgers for the year, and then also at the deadline when the Bears were shopping their star young cornerback. You could have gone for him, sign him to a big deal, and lock him down for 5 years. But they refused to do that, and it showed. And somehow they're actually still in the playoffs right now based on a multitude of tiebreakers. There's 6 teams at 7-6 right now in the AFC. The Colts don't have the tiebreaker over Cleveland or over Cincinnati now, who are all 7-6, but they do have the tiebreaker over Houston and over Buffalo based on common opponents.
It's not
so
even
based on all those tiebreakers, the Colts actually finish in the 7th spot because they're also tied with Pittsburgh. It's a lot. I don't know what is going on.
Yeah, the rest of the Colts schedule is against teams like right in the middle, and to me, this just felt like they played they kind of had nothing in the tank. They played 5 quarters of football against Tennessee. They treated that. They were going nuts after that win last week. The Colts. To me, this just felt like a little bit of a, they just didn't have a lot in the tank coming in. And the Bengals, on the other hand, they also had an emotional win on the road, but that was more of like, oh, coming out party for Jake Browning. And I was watching the Monday night game. There was a great game, the Jags and the Bengals. And I would say that that game featured two of the, like, there's so many coaches who have bad clock management, like the Bills, even today, Sean McVay. I mean, he's normally pretty good, but Rams made a big mistake late in the game. But Doug Peterson and Zach Taylor, and I think about Zach Taylor because not just because I ran into him earlier this year, but because he really did a masterful job with the clock at the end of the championship game against the Chiefs a few years ago. And I remembered how well he used his timeouts. And he did the same thing Monday night. He was smart. And he's got Jake Browning playing like a quarterback. Now, like you said, the Colts have secondary problems for sure. But Browning has, I mean, you would have thought Burrow going down. I mean, no chance, because the Bengals weren't exactly like setting the league on fire with Burrow. They had some offensive problems early in the year, especially their line. But this kid's giving them some hope. And, he was efficient today. He spread the ball around. Nobody had more than 3 catches on the team, right? It wasn't like, oh, we're just going to try to get the ball to Jamar Chase or we can get the ball to Higgins. I mean, like you said, there were some big plays, but I mean, there's like the side of you as, the Colts fan, you want to see them bounce back. They got to deal with Pittsburgh next week. Of course, Pittsburgh's going downhill really fast, but we know
they own the Colts. I think we've beaten them like 3 times in our history.
Never count out Mike Tomlin when a winning season is on the line. But Cincinnati, their remaining schedule is tough. I mean, they have Minnesota, then they have Pittsburgh, which, again, but they've already lost to Pittsburgh. They have the Chiefs on the road, and they finish at home against Cleveland. Remember, the Browns own the Bengals, and whatever reason, the Bengals can't beat the Browns. So both of these
teams, that's only in Cleveland, though, right? Or is that both places?
I mean, I know a couple of years ago when the Bengals went to the Super Bowl, the Browns beat them 41-16 in Cincy. I don't
That was on Halloween night, right?
Yeah, may have been. Well, they played on Halloween night last year. That was in Cleveland. I think that's what you're thinking of. But I think the Bengals did beat them at home in the regulars. But the point is they've struggled with the Browns generally. And I don't know. Both these teams come out of this game kind of with different vibes. Like the Colts had all this good mojo and then clunk, right? And it's like, oh, now can we catch ourselves? And then the Bengals are like, we just beat the Jaguars on the road. We just beat 2 AFC South teams in the span of a week. And we're doing it with Jake Browning, and who knows? I mean, every team in the North is over 500. Just pointing that out.
It frustrates me, especially, you're talking about coaching and time management. I mean, just the refusal to acknowledge like their timeouts, to care about when you take your timeouts is another thing that just makes me go crazy. Just I see these guys taking timeouts in like the third quarter. And it's like, you should almost never take a timeout in the third quarter, no matter what. It happens all the time. It happened today with Steichen, which luckily it didn't matter. But this was just a hard game to watch. I mean, they came out flat. The Colts, like every week, they kind of do the same thing. They're like an old truck, an old powerful truck. It takes a little while to jumpstart them. You turn the key a couple times. It doesn't turn over. You turn it again. Doesn't turn over. You turn it again. It finally starts. And then it's just going. And there was 25 seconds of football today where I was like, oh man, this is going to be a game now, where we tied it at the end of the half. We had the touchdown. Matt Gay missed the extra point. And then the pick 6 where our defender really just stole the ball from the receiver. It wasn't even Browning's fault, in my opinion. And then it just kind of stopped. And the offense, I'm going to say the offense hasn't been that good the past 5 weeks. They put up 10 against New England and Germany. They really only put up 13 against Carolina. They did well against Tampa. Tampa's defense kind of sucks. They really had a lot of aid from last week. Weird shit going on. The 2 block punts, and then they scored the touchdown at the end of the game, so they put up 21 points. But that was in 5 quarters of football. And then today the offense only scored 7. So it's not like they're lighting the world on fire here anymore. That's what they were doing for a while. And
Well,
again, a lot of surface level fans just kind of look at it and they say, "Oh, well, we scored 28 point or 31 points last week against Tennessee. We're good." And it's like, no, special teams accounted for a touchdown. Special teams got us inside the 10. We couldn't even punch it in. That's
yeah,
not that good. That's
total
not,
points is deceiving. I mean, like the
yeah,
Jets scored 30 today. They had a game against Denver earlier in the year where they scored 31, and it was like, I think it was like all field goals and a defensive touch. I mean, you could get points without being a juggernaut offensively. And like you said, the Colts played basically 5 full quarters of football last week. They looked like they had nothing in the second half. I mean, it looked like they really had nothing outside of, as you said, that couple minutes of football or whatever today. So maybe it was that. Maybe the Bengals are just, and then this is what the NFL is, especially with these kind of average teams. Like one team's just down, another team's up. So you get this result. But then they're kind of gradually, then they go, and then the other team kind of comes right. And it's just what you do when it's like an EKG or something, it just kind of scribbles up and down a little bit, and you just don't really know what you're getting. You're just following the trends.
Yeah. Jags Browns. Jaguars, kind of a stunner here. I would say a little bit of a stunner. Joe Flacco looked all right. The Browns needed this one too. The Colts and Texans also needed this, but both teams lost. I mean, I feel like this is a little bit of an off game, honestly. I don't want to say this tells a ton about the Jags. Their defense did not look that good. It really didn't. But I feel like an emotional loss. Trevor Lawrence was a question mark going into this week anyways. It doesn't tell me too much about either team, I would say.
I'm surprised Lawrence played based on how bad that looked and the fact that was Monday night and he was out there. Yeah. At times he, didn't look great. At times he did. He did 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. But the Super Bowl champ won the game. I'm personally, it's not that I'm rooting for a division rival, but really happy to see Joe Flacco at his age getting it done, throwing touchdowns and being in a playoff chase. And there's no reason. I mean, look, are they going to win the Super Bowl? I don't think so. But could they get in, maybe win a game? Why not? I mean, Jacksonville, I just look at the Jags as a team I don't trust. I just don't trust them. I believe this was their first road loss of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Jacksonville.
What are they at? 4 losses right now?
5.
So let me think. They lost Browns.
I'm just looking
49ers.
Pretty sure. Yeah. Jacksonville.
They lost to Houston at home.
Right. This was their first road loss of the year. I just looked on ESPN. And so, yeah, they lost to the Chiefs. They lost to Houston. They lost to last week to the Bengals and one other game that escapes me at the moment. But point being, Jacksonville, they just, I don't know. They kind of like the Lions last year where they made this big jump and then they win that crazy playoff game against the Chargers and they put up a decent fight against the Chiefs. And you felt like, okay, that was like the first step and then they'll take the next step this year. But there's nothing that just tells me that the Jaguars are ready to be an elite team. I mean, I like Lawrence and I like Doug Peterson as a coach. I do, but I just don't know if there's enough explosiveness from the offense. I don't know if the defense is consistent enough. I just don't know. I just don't know what to make of this Jaguars team. I still think I trust them more than any of the other teams in the South. They only have a 1-game lead, but my God, look at that whole division today. I mean, Tennessee hasn't played yet, but Jacksonville loses to the Browns and Flacco. The Texans get annihilated by the Jets. We give up 30 to the Jets. I have to say it out loud a few times to believe it.
I had the Texans minus 3.5.
You could have the Texans
in a major parlay.
Yeah,
so
would have lost. And as we know, the Colts, I mean, just completely steamrolled in the second half. So, yeah, like you said, AFC South, my God, someone's got to win it. But we talking, oh my God, the AFC South sucks. 3 of the teams are over 500. So if you just were, again, a casual fan and you looked and said, wow, it's a pretty decent division. You got 8-5 and then a couple 7-6s. And I mean, even Tennessee's not horrible or not good, but it just feels like it's very deceiving. It's very deceiving. And the Jags, to me, are very deceiving. They're just, they look like they could be a sexy team, but they just don't, they're not there yet. I don't know. I don't know what they need, but they're not there yet.
All right, let's move it on. We're gonna get this train rolling a little bit. I mean, the Jets Texans game sucks, anyways. Not much to say. It was rainy, shitty weather.
Mhm.
MetLife Stadium. I hate MetLife Stadium is my least favorite stadium in the league. I hate it more than anything else. It's just ugly to look at. It's an ugly backdrop for games. The turf causes more injuries than I've ever seen. I mean, the Rodgers injury was probably because of that. At least it contributed. Stroud goes down with a concussion after hitting his head on the turf. So Zach Wilson, we're gonna do the same thing that we always do with Wilson too. The media is gonna say, "Oh, he is the guy now because he had a good game." I'll give him that, but this just wasn't that Texans team. I think the Texans don't really feel like they were the Texans today. The rain was an issue, and if I'm not mistaken, they had a pretty emotional game last week too. Am I
They
wrong?
hung on. They sealed that game with an end zone pick against Denver, and it was kind of a
Yeah,
big. Had a lot of close games this year. Kind of
yeah,
at some point they were going to have a game where they just fell flat on their faces, and like the Jets, as bad as they are and as ugly as the offense has been, they have some good wins under their belt this year. I know they're 5-8, but they had that great win opening night after Rodgers goes down. They beat the Bills on a punt return in overtime. Can't wait to talk about how that happened again today.
yeah,
They beat Philadelphia when the Eagles were undefeated. The Eagles were 5-0 going into that game. The Jets win that. And then today they put up a great effort. Obviously, Houston did not. And I agree with you. It's not, we can't just suddenly say, I mean, Zach Wilson he's the answer of what they have now. I mean, let's stop with the Trevor Siemian and Tim Boyle experiment. I mean, just ride with Wilson now. I mean, good or bad, you're not getting Rodgers back and you're not getting any better and you're not getting Vinny Testaverde or Joe Namath back. So let's ride with Zach Wilson. Let's try to run the ball. I agree with you about MetLife. I've never been. It's one of the few current stadiums I haven't been to. I went to one game 20 years ago at the old Giants Stadium. It was opening day for the Giants. And I don't know why, because it was a pretty dumpy place too, but there was some charm. And I'm a sucker. I'm nostalgic for a lot of those old stadiums. A lot of these new ones
yeah,
are overly modernized. Like Jerry World was very nice. I went last year, but it's too. I liked being at the old Texas Stadium better. So I agree with you. Hopefully, C.J. Stroud. It's not serious. It just felt like it was just one of those days for
yeah.
Houston, and they've had a really nice season. D'Amico Ryans. They've already more than doubled their win total from last year. The good news is they're still in the AFC South. The division is still within reach.
Yeah, they're expected to. I think they were expected to have a letdown day at some point.
Absolutely. I mean,
It
they're
was
allowed
expected.
to. I hate to say that you're
Yeah,
allowed to. I mean, not that they wanted to, but they're still 7-6 after being 3-13 a year ago. So they
yeah.
good things for the Texans.
And then final game. This game sucks too. We're gonna talk a little Titans Dolphins. The Titans haven't scored over 30 points since 2021.
Wow.
And the Dolphins have scored 30 points in 7 of their 12 games they've played. That's all I have to say on it. That's it. There's nothing
Yeah,
else I could
I'll
possibly
just
say
say, I
about
mean,
it.
Miami is excelled at beating the teams that it is supposed to this year. We're kind of waiting for them to have that kind of, you know, uh, watershed moment or whatever you want to call it, where they beat a big team and they'll get a chance. They have the Ravens and the Cowboys still coming up on the schedule, and then they have the Bills again. So Miami's schedule is tough. Like they have to win this game, and they're supposed to, and they should get them to 10-3, because their remaining schedule is not forgiving in the least bit. Right, that they have the Jets, which is never, even though they beat the Jets handle, it's not even that's not a gimme. But then Cowboys, Ravens, and Bills to close the season, and Miami's in the
Yeah.
running for the 1 seed. Yeah, not much to say. Tennessee, we've talked about them needing a reset. I like Mike Vrabel as a coach. I don't know if I like Will Levis as a quarterback. We'll see. I do like Derrick Henry as a running back.
Levis throws a lot of ducks. I'm gonna
He
tell as
does.
a Colts fan who's seen him, he throws a lot of ducks. But that was
Yeah,
one game. I don't know, but they're not pretty.
yeah.
That's my opinion. Titans fans get so ornery about their team, anyways. They always feel disrespected. But where's the rings, man? Where
Yeah.
are the rings? You don't get respect until you win a ring.
They've only been to one Super Bowl ever, so
Yeah, and they were a yard short of anything else. So
first Super Bowl I watched start to finish. Great game.
yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Very good one. All right, let's just erase this. Oh, and if it lands on a blank spot, we just go to the division next to it. So just as a all right, AFC North. I'm gonna give that to the AFC North. It was close enough. This is a hilarious game. Let's talk about the Patriots and Steelers. I actually got into a little beef on Threads right before this game. I said I have a strong feeling that the Pats are going to find a way to win this game. That's all I said. I said like the Steelers or the Patriots are not good, but I have a strong feeling they'll be able to win this. And somebody called me an idiot, a moron. They went on for a little while, and I like responded a couple times. But then as soon as the Pats went up like 17-3 or whatever it was, they deleted all their comments. So that was a win for me. That was a great day. But the Patriots kind of let them back in, but the Steelers were the storyline here. More the Patriots are overdone. Nobody cares. Steelers are dead. They're dead. They're not a real team.
No, after losing at home to Arizona, this wasn't a shocker. I just think that it's hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that it was just 4 years ago, the last time that these teams played, that Brady and Roethlisberger were the story, and the Pats and Steelers ran the AFC along with Peyton Manning, whichever team he was on, for 20 years. So even though I'm happy to see the demise really of both teams, it's still kind of sad to see. Oh, well, now we've got Patriots Steelers Thursday Night Football, and it's Bailey Zappi against Mitch Trubisky, and it was gnarly. It was an ugly game in ugly weather, and the Steelers are 7-6, and I know that your Colts play them next, and it's never a gimme. It's not like the Steelers couldn't turn it around. This is the time to get them, and maybe it was just New England was kind of due to score some points, and I think Zappi's the quarterback now the rest of the year. Which means Mac Jones isn't, which means let's draft a quarterback. If you're New England, unless you have something up your sleeve to trade for a big name guy that I'm not aware of. But I do know the Pats hurt their chances for that top pick by winning this game. That's all I'll say. But happy to see the Steelers lose. I hope it continues. I'd like to see Mike Tomlin not have a winning record just once in my lifetime.
Yeah. Mike Tomlin is around 50% against the spread at home when he's a favorite. About 50%. That's not good. That is not good. He is not good as a favorite, especially at home. I think a lot of people who really know ball, I think it was kind of easy to see this one coming. Belichick owns Mike Tomlin. Well-known. He has well-known ownership over him. And especially Tomlin as a favorite in a primetime game. That's just not a good recipe. I think it might be time for the Steelers and Tomlin to part. I think not because either side is that bad. I think it's just time for a change of scenery for both sides.
I've said that about John Harbaugh before, and I think he's a great coach, and I don't think they're just going to suddenly get rid of him. But it never hurts to, of course, you could say that about the Patriots. All I know is Steelers' last 4 games: Colts, Bengals, Seahawks, Ravens. 25 years ago, I was reading this article recently on Thanksgiving. They talked about the ill-fated. This was literally before you were born. The coin flip. Jerome Bettis. Did he call heads? Did he call tails on Thanksgiving? Steelers lost to the Lions. They were 7-4 going into that game. Lost out. They blamed that coin toss. Bill Cowher even said that in the article. They finished 7-9. I don't think the Steelers are going to go 7-4 to 7-10 this year. The Jets, though, did it last year. It is doable, and it is a possibility with that schedule. But wouldn't surprise me if the Steelers find a way to win a couple games either. So,
yeah. All right. Wait. Hold on. I got to find. What did I say? NFC North or AFC North?
AFC
correct?
North. Well, that just leaves the
Ravens. I'll let you go.
What a game, man! It wasn't. The Ravens, like, they found a way, which is that's the name of the game. The defense was very inconsistent. They gave up a lot of big plays in terms of, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, and Stafford's numbers look pretty good, but they just did what they had to do. It was like the whole game they were just sort of like it felt like it kept threatening to get out of hand and get away from them, and they just kind of kept it going. And that punt return was electric. I mean, that was just awesome. That was just really cool to see, Tylan Wallace stay on his feet and run that back. I mean, the receiving core gets a little better every week. They do something like that. It was all about how bad the Ravens receivers were the last few years and going into this year. And they just, I don't know. Like, I knew this was going to be one of those games that they were favored by like 7.5, 8 points. I was like, that felt high because the Rams are kind of coming back together a little bit. And, they look like a decent team. They're not an easy, that's not an easy win on the schedule. And early on, Kyron Williams was finding some room on the ground, and the Ravens didn't do a lot in terms of running the ball today. I mean, Lamar was there. I never love when he's the leading rusher. Like, it's exciting, but it's like that's not the formula for success when you need to count on him to do everything, because those do it all games where he puts up the big pen, he put up 316 yards today. Those are rare. That's not a sustainable. You were saying the Colts, they're sustainable. It's not a sustainable brand of football if the Ravens can't, control the game on the ground with their actual run game and not just design plays or scrambles. So, but you know what? The Ravens are 10-3. There's a chance they could get Mark Andrews back in the playoffs. They have the inside track now for home field. And the fact is, their remaining schedule it's tough. There's Jacksonville's coming up, and they've got the Steelers, but they also have the Dolphins and the Niners. And you figure it's going to be hard to see anybody beating the Niners. But if they can finish 3-1, they will get, and because they play Miami is one of those. If they beat Miami and they go 3-1, they will get home field advantage in the playoffs. And that would be fun to see, because I'm trying to remember, I think Lamar Jackson has he's played 2 home playoff games, and he lost them both.
Jeez.
So time to win one for the home faithful. But yeah, what a game. So I gotta say.
Some people said I was crazy when I actually picked the Rams to win this game.
No, I knew the Rams had a chance. I knew, the Ravens can be susceptible to big plays in the passing game. They absolutely can. I mean, they rely on being able to get pressure. Marlon Humphrey dropped. I mean, he didn't drop, but he had a close to getting an interception, keeping the game from going to overtime.
Yeah.
Kupp made some great individual plays. This felt like I wouldn't even call it a trap game. I just think the Rams are a competent football team with a lot of veteran guys.
Well, and they're fighting for a playoff spot too.
Yeah.
Very crowded.
Absolutely. Yeah. And and so
there was one game, or there was one play in that game at the end. The Rams were driving down the field. Matt Stafford missed Cooper Kupp for a touchdown. That deep ball, if he throws that accurately, that's a touchdown. that was kind of a gift from Stafford, because Kupp actually had to kind of jump back into the ball and jump up. If he hits him in stride there, that's probably the game. I can't imagine you guys would even come back at that point. It would have been too difficult to come back.
Yeah.
So you did get a gift. I mean, every good team gets gifts too. We can't forget that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I don't think the Rams are dead either. Not by far. I think whenever Matt Stafford is there, there's always a Matt Stafford thing. And that's why they pay him the money to be there. That's why they went and got him, because I know they wanted to win the Super Bowl and they got their Super Bowl. But this Rams, I feel like everyone kind of expected this Rams team to be horrific, just like last year, and they're not. They're not even close to it, honestly.
I just think people underestimated the Rams a little bit. They thought they were going to be terrible. I don't think the Rams are terrible, but look, we know they sold out. They mortgaged the future a little bit for that Super Bowl, and hey, I get it. I just want to point out first year, and I had to look this up because it was just tickling my brain. First year in Ravens history, 1996, played an overtime game against the St. Louis Rams, and with 10 seconds left in overtime, Vinny Testaverde to Michael Jackson, yes, Michael Jackson, for the win. Ravens 37, Rams 31. Fun stuff. October 27th, 1996. Look it up. Yes, they were down to the last 10 seconds. of the game. They were threatening to be a tie, and the Ravens were not good that year. That was at Old Memorial Stadium, and the Ravens won that one. So just I don't know, good mojo maybe.
A little bit, yeah. All right. Let's see. 15. That's it for the North, the AFC North, if I'm correct. Did cover all of them. Yeah, that's it. All right, let's do another spin. I'm really hoping. Okay, NFC West. We already covered the Rams. We covered who else? Wait, I gotta go back. Hold on. Get my brain in a jumble. Bucks, Falcons, blah, blah, blah. I guess, yeah. Seahawks, 49ers. I kind of had the Seahawks competing in this game. I thought it was going to be Geno. Even with Drew Lock, they actually did a very good job of adjusting with Drew Lock. I think this game was closer than expected, or closer than it looks on the scoreboard. I think it was a 12-point game in the end. But the Seahawks were playing for their lives here. They have, who do they have next week? I think they have
the Eagles, right?
The Eagles, yeah. They have the Eagles next week. The 49ers are playing like four straight games against bird teams, which is hilarious. I think they have...
There's only 4 bird teams, right? Falcons, Cardinals, Eagles, and the Seahawks, I guess, are a bird. Up to the Ravens, of course. So maybe there's 5, but
I think the Seahawks or the 49ers have... Shoot. I can't remember who they have next, but they played the Cowboys last week, and then they have the Seahawks. I think they have another bird team. They have the Seahawks again, and then they have the Ravens on Christmas Day. So the bird juju, I don't know what it is. The 49ers, though, they imposed their will, I would say. They felt like they were in control still, even though it was a close game, even though the Seahawks were trying to keep up with them. They imposed their will. I think Seattle... It's going to be really difficult for them. They're sitting at 8 wins, or not 8 wins, 8 losses right now.
Yeah,
7 losses. A 10-7 team is difficult to get in, but then you got to play San Fran again, or no, not San Fran again. Yeah, San Fran again. No. Man, my brain is jumbled. They have to play
Tennessee,
the Eagles next week
in Arizona after the Philly game. Yeah. And I'll just say about this game, I thought Seattle was going to hang in there. It was kind of disappointing they didn't cover the actual spread. It was, still
I had them at 12.5.
Okay, well, they covered your spread.
Perfect.
Lucky you. The spread pool, I think I had him at 10.5. But no Geno Smith. I mean, Drew Lock, he played okay. I mean, he got the ball a couple times, down the field, and Metcalf had a touchdown. But man, I mean, the 49ers opened this game with a 72-yard run on like first play from scrimmage. Brock Purdy, when he has games where he just kind of throws in clunkers, but man, when he's good, he can be really good. It just seems like when this team wants to wake up, or when it does wake up, they're unstoppable. Now they're not unstoppable as a team, and obviously they've lost 3 games and they lost them all in a row. But it just feels like they're healthy-ish. They've got momentum, and yeah, Seattle, especially if they got to roll with Drew Lock again. It just felt like they kind of caught lightning in a bottle last year. I figured they were due to keep it close just because they got blown out by the Niners a few weeks ago. They lost 3 times to them last year. Niners were coming off this destruction of the Eagles. They weren't going to play that well again. So, yeah, not much to say. 49ers, have basically clinched the division at this point.
Dak just took a ugly hit.
Saw that. But you had that Seahawks 49ers game, and then how about the NFC South? Have we hit the wheel yet? Because I'm psyched to talk about Baker Mayfield's comeback today. And
we'll definitely hit the NFC South at some point on here.
I think we're running out of games anyway. We've got
we're coming down to it.
It's so far.
Coming down.
Carolina and New Orleans. I don't know how much.
The NFC South is the best for last, in my opinion. That's the most exciting one.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
2 divisions left, right? AFC West and
spin again. Damn it. NFC South. There you go.
All right.
You hit the one next to it.
What can you say? I mean, hey, the Bucs on the road. They get it done, and it's like somebody had to win this game. And had Atlanta won, they'd be kind of in control of the division. But now, like the Bucs are kind of feeling it, and the Bucs have won. They won the division 2 years in a row, right? They didn't win it the year they won the Super Bowl because the Saints
Yeah,
did.
2019, or the
No.
Saints won
They
that.
won it
Yeah,
21 and 22, which
yeah.
is funny because those were the years that Brady didn't really go deep into the playoffs. But Mayfield just did what he had to do. I mean, Ritter put up good numbers, he put up the yardage, but the Bucs ran it. They ran it a lot, and they ran it pretty well. I mean, 148 yards. Even though Drake London kind of went off, I don't know. This was just bound to be a good game. I mean, these teams played it to a last-second field goal the first meeting. I don't know who should win or who deserves to win this division. Somebody's getting a home playoff game in front of their fans. Maybe it'll be the same. It's not gonna be the Panthers, obviously, but could be the Bucs, could be the Falcons, could be the Saints. But I just feel like Baker Mayfield just loves this like drama, these like late season little like we're not good, but I can still give you some drama and some good vibes. And I don't know. I'm kind of feeling like the Bucs. I don't know if you can call them the favorite in the division, but
They're the most entertaining. I think
they
they're
are.
they're the one that we want.
Yeah, and then like their
I
next,
want at
they
least.
got Green Bay and Jacksonville coming up before they finish with the Saints and Panthers. So I don't know, exactly how the schedule will shake out. The Falcons get Carolina, Indy, Chicago, and New Orleans. So it's a little more favorable for Atlanta. I'd probably still give them the inside track, but the Saints have the Giants, Rams, Bucks, and Falcons. So I don't know. I don't know if there's even that much to say in this game. Just that it was fun. It was Baker Mayfield kind of doing what he did when he came in to that game for the Rams last year, and like Atlanta, they just Falcons. I don't know. They just these are the games they lose, right? This is just what they do.
Yeah, even if they're really good, they'll lose a game like this.
Yeah,
I found that they matched up really well. The Bucks stopped the run really well, and the identity of Atlanta is to run the ball. The Bucks secondary is their big weakness, so obviously the Falcons don't throw the ball like at all. They really struggle to, even though they have some pretty good weapons, I
and
would
they put
say.
up a lot of passing yards today. And London had a big
Yeah.
game, and Ritter threw for 347. Wouldn't have expected that.
But Vita Vea is a monster.
Mm,
He's an absolute monster up the middle. And Baker just loves to sling it. Offensively, I thought they matched up pretty evenly. Like, they stopped the Falcons play really good defense on, both spectrums of the ball, on the pass and the run D. The Bucks don't run it well, and I don't really understand how they don't with Rachaad White. I think it's just the Todd Bowles style of running the ball, just run it up the middle a ton of times. And Rachaad White is a like almost Derrick Henry style back. He looks like Derrick Henry to me. He's just big. You want to get him on the outsides. You want to get him running downhill more than anything. And I hate the Bucks. As
okay.
a native Floridian, I can't stand Bucks fans, especially when the Brady thing happened when Brady went, because tons of Floridians just jumped on the bandwagon. All of them. It's bandwagons just irritate me to no end, which it shouldn't. It doesn't matter, but I think the Bucks would be the most fun. The Baker Mayfield slinging it around. Their offense is better, I guess. I mean, it's still Todd Bowles, but I would much rather see them in the playoffs than the Saints, who are constantly arguing with each other,
Yeah.
bickering with Derek Carr, or the Falcons, who just play a boring style of football. They don't even run the ball like it's fun. Running the ball like it's fun is running it at will, running it, you run it for 6 yards a carry, and then you just pound your way up the middle. But the Falcons just run it. They're just boring. They're just putting you to sleep, feels like. That's how they win games, probably. Just putting the defense to sleep more than anything.
Yeah. But good for the Bucks for winning on a day when Mike Evans
Yeah.
had one catch for 8 yards. So,
Yeah.
But then you got the other half of the NFC South, right? The Saints, they beat up on Carolina. I mean, that was potentially a landmine, 28-6. I mean, is there even that much to say about this game? Bryce Young, he just, I don't know, this kid, I'm not saying it's going to be bad forever. It's been a really bad first year. I mean, they're 1-12. Carr threw for 119 yards. The Saints didn't even get 100 yards on the ground. It was Like this was, you talk about, there were some ugly games today. This was definitely one of them. Carolina, normally you'd say, hey, we're 1-12. Great. We're going to get the first pick. Oh, wait, we just had them. We're 1-12 with them. And our first pick's going to Chicago. So, yeah, but hey, good to see Jimmy Graham in the end zone. It's always good to see him still getting it done. That's all I got to say
Good for
about
him. Yeah,
Saints.
that's all I have to.
They're
Nothing else.
Yeah.
Let me just take that timestamp. Okay. All right. We only have a few more things going here.
Yeah, my computer battery's hanging on for dear life. But yeah, I think the only two games left we have to cover the AFC West, the Denver Chargers and Buffalo KC, which we should save Buffalo KC for last because so oh my God, I just you got to stop because I just want to go off on the Chargers and how pathetic they are. And I have an uncle who has partial season tickets and just can't believe that he supports this team. I mean, Easton Stick was in the game. Brandon Staley, he'll never kick field goals. He'll never take obvious points. He will just continue to put his team in terrible position. It doesn't even feel like the city wants them there. Like, who are the Chargers? What are they doing? It's so ugly across the board. It's such a waste of Justin Herbert. Now he injures his finger. Only other thing I'm going to say on this game, because I don't want to just rant about the Chargers, is Russell Wilson's playing well. The Broncos are in it. They're only a game out in the AFC West. I never thought I'd be saying that. They're a game behind the Chiefs after 14 weeks.
Yeah.
They started 1-5.
Yeah. All right. There's nothing.
No, but
it was
Sean
a boring
Payton's
game.
got
It
this team
sucked.
turned
It
around.
sucked.
It did
There's
suck.
nothing.
It's just miserable.
I don't have anything good to say about that game. Any fans of the Wheel, we're in the nitty-gritty. We're just gonna
process of
say
elimination. We just had to finish up, but let's end on a good note with this Buffalo Kansas City game, because you got Dallas running up here 23-6 now.
I think we're missing. Are we missing any? Hold on. We did Eagles 1, 2, 3.
No, we got them all.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There's 15 games. Is there 15 games this week? Yeah, there has to be. There's 2 teams on a bye. We've only talked 13 games. Well, I guess, never mind. It adds up. Never mind. I'm just.
Yeah.
Bills Chiefs, this is a classic. I mean, not a classic in what they've done, but a pretty damn good game, I would say.
This was a great game. Obviously, greater if you're rooting against the Chiefs and you like seeing Patrick Mahomes throw a complete tantrum at the end, and Andy Reid criticizing the officials because he couldn't go get a hamburger, during the TV timeout. No, I mean, first of all, Dee Ford came to mind 5 years ago. You may remember the Chiefs lost the AFC Championship game because Ford lined up in the neutral zone, and it negated an interception of Brady that would have won the game and sent the Chiefs to the Super Bowl. I think it was the right call. I mean, people said it was the right call. I hope that it was the curse of showing Taylor Swift after that touchdown, and then the flag came in. The Bills, God, I knew the Bills would find every way possible to try and give this game away. They had some horrible play calls on their final drive. It was like 2-11, and they're throwing passes. They didn't make Kansas City use any time, and then Allen gets sacked. But for whatever reason, the NFL scheduling formula allows intra-conference opponents to play in the same location 3 years in a row. The Colts had to do this. They went to Foxborough 2010, 11, and 12 to play the Patriots because of the formula. And then they had to play the playoff games there 2 years after that because there were a lot of Bills fans being like, how come every time the Bills play the Chiefs, it's at Arrowhead? But they've won all 3 regular season games. Of course, they've lost the 2 postseason games. I'll say the Bills saved their season, and they're the kind of team that they have the talent. It's just they can't get out of their own way. But they did today. They got some help. Rare to see the Bills get help from the officials. It feels like that's exactly the way you would have designed the Bills losing. And had they lost Had they given up that touchdown, the final score in all likelihood would have been Chiefs 24, Bills 20. Last year at Arrowhead, the Bills scored a late touchdown. Dawson Knox, Bills 24, Chiefs 20. I said that would just be cruel on top of cruel to a Bills fan base that is all too used to it. But here are the Chiefs. Mahomes now has the most losses he's had in a season is 5, so he's matched that. And the Chiefs suddenly are, I mean, it doesn't feel like they're not going to win the division. Like, of course, it feels like they'll win it, but they only have a game lead. And this is the first time I can remember them even being pushed, except
uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 2018, that when Phillip Rivers and the Chargers were also 12-4. But this is the first time in a few years that the Chiefs have had a little bit of a division race on their hands, and that they're not, immediately the front runner for the bye.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a good friend who is a big Chiefs fan, and he was cussing. I mean, we were texting back and forth, and he said some of the most heinous shit I've ever seen regarding Kadarius Toney. He's apparently he's lost them 2 games, which the Lions game a lot of people will remember now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we shouldn't be shocked that there's some sort of regression with the Chiefs. I actually had the question about Jordan Love today. We do our mailbox basically on our Threads account, and I had the question about Jordan Love about, is he the guy in Green Bay? And I basically said yes, but it's not because of his play. It's going to be because of a regression in quarterback play that we just saw the last 20 years, some of the greatest quarterback play we've ever seen, just in droves of different quarterbacks. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, if you want to throw him in there. Some people don't. I always do. So I think this is just going to be the kind of new reality, in my opinion. I mean, I think Mahomes doesn't look right anyways. It's not his normal. But I don't think I still believe in the Chiefs because of the Super Bowl champions. I always believe in them until they get knocked out. Any Super Bowl champion, I'll always do that. But it's not. I guess it shouldn't be a shock that they're regressing a little bit here. And next year's going to be a big year for them. Assuming they don't go on a run and win the Super Bowl. But I'm not counting out that they go on a run and win the Super Bowl. Remember the 2020 Bucks? The 2020 Bucks were 6-6, I think, at one point.
7-5, but yeah, they were
7-5. Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me at all. The Chiefs' remaining schedule, they got New England coming up. I know New England just won, but they got New England, the Raiders, the Bengals, and the Chargers. There's still a good chance they'll be 12-5. Will they or won't they get the bye? Mahomes has never had to play a true road playoff game. I mean, he got knocked around in the Super Bowl, but they weren't, that wasn't a road game, even though Tampa was home. Remember this: the Chiefs, they've lost 5 games this year. They lost 3 games last year, and they lost to the Bengals late in 2021. They haven't lost a game by more than 1 score since losing 27-3 to the Titans in the middle of the 2021 season. So one thing that you can always count on is the Chiefs are going to be right there at the end of a game. The difference is the receivers have really hurt them. There's not, they can't just go out and trade for, well, if he was healthy, I was going to say Justin Jefferson. I mean, they got to roll with what they have right now. And the defense is good, but they had some injuries, and it doesn't ever seem like the Chiefs have too many injuries, but they had a few key guys out today. And I still look, and certainly as a Ravens fan, I know people are saying, well, the Ravens could be the team in the AFC. I'm not counting the Chiefs out until they're out. They're like the Astros, where you want to count them out, but they're there every single year. They've won a couple times. They've been close some other times. So I think they'll get it turned around. I think they're going to beat New England on Monday night. I don't see that being an issue. Is there one more loss in the schedule?
Not Monday night. Got flexed out.
Oh, wow.
It did. First Monday night flex ever, I think.
Probably,
is what they said. Because they never did. They used to never do that. So
didn't realize.
History for the schedule fans. Anyone who just loves the schedule.
Wow. I see they flexed Eagles Seahawks. Wow. So Philly's got to fly cross country back from Seattle on a Monday night. I'm sure they're thrilled. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's besides the Eagles game. Eagles Cowboys. We'll talk about the first half. I've been kind of trying to pay attention. We're talking. It's hard for me to get a full grasp on the game, but I mean, Dak Prescott, man. I said he might be the MVP. This is his MVP moment right here.
It is, but I'm look, if I'm a Philly fan, I'm concerned because this is, you got waxed by the Niners last week. You could have said, okay, maybe you're fatigued, maybe it was just the law of averages. Now you got a chance to bounce back against Dallas, and Dallas is just putting a whooping on them right now. And there's just not a lot of resistance from that Philadelphia defense. Dallas is, Prescott's carving them up. Dallas has 18 carries for 96 yards in the first time. This is a lopsided game. I mean, it is what the score shows. And Dallas is doubling them in first downs. Basically, it's Philadelphia. A couple of weeks ago they were cruising for the 1 seed, and now they're looking at being maybe a wild card and having to be. Yeah, I mean, they go on the road. They'll probably play an NFC South team, and they've already clobbered the Bucs. But even so, that's just not. That you're looking at a road to the playoffs. A road to the Super Bowl. It's like not easy to do, even though teams have done it. So some concern for Philly. And if you're Dallas, man, I mean, obviously a lot of people feel like they can't beat San Francisco, but if they ever want to at least get over this divisional round curse or whatever, this would be the year. They need to get home field because now they know they can beat Philly. They could probably beat Detroit. San Francisco might be in their way, but at least Dallas can maybe think about getting to the championship game this year. And if they win tonight, right, I guess they'll still have, I don't know exactly how the tiebreakers will play out, but they could maybe control their own destiny to win the division. And maybe that gets them a first round bye too, depending if the Niners, how they do the rest of the year. But yeah, you're right. This could be the moment that Dak, silences some people. He beats Jalen Hurts, which I don't know. I don't know if he's beaten Jalen Hurts yet head to head.
They might have the
year.
year.
They both missed each other, right? One of them Dak missed the game in Philly, and then Hurts missed the game in Dallas, and they split.
The year before, when Philly won the division at like 8-8 or 8-9 or something like that. I don't know what they did. I think that was the year Dak got hurt early, right? That was 21.
Well, they had the game where they won like 51-26, but I don't know if there might have been a game that didn't mean anything to Philly. It was on a Saturday. Either way, I mean, this is a big moment for the Cowboys, but Dallas still has a pretty tough schedule coming up. They got Buffalo and Miami on the road the next 2 weeks, and then they get Detroit at home before they finish with Washington. So, yeah, that Washington game shouldn't be a problem, but next 3 games.
Last year it was.
Yeah, right. Oh, and it's division games. You never know. You could beat a team. I mean, they beat them with like 45-10 or something on Thanksgiving, but that doesn't guarantee anything. You're right. So, and 3 tough games coming up though for Dallas. But so they needed this one. They really did. It's not over, but looking pretty good right now. So,
yeah, and I need one more touchdown pass from Dak. I know there's a run. I know there was a run or a run play, but I need that one more touchdown. I got over 2.5 right now. Got to cash that. All right, I'm not gonna talk too much about my gambling. What's your battery like?
It's pretty low, and I'm gonna jump off here in a couple minutes. But
okay,
so
we can try and do a little bit of the grid.
I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head while we were on the Texans.
I can't.
I may have to think about it overnight, to be honest with you. Yeah. Brain's too footballed out at this point.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. We're gonna wrap it up. Thank you everybody for watching or listening, whatever you're doing. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, the whole thing. Go follow us on our Threads account if you want to hear my in-game thoughts about the Colts. I'm usually hot or cold, upset or very happy, one or the other. So thank you for coming on again, Michael, and we will see you guys next week.